Hello and welcome to another video on my channel. I'm currently preparing for calling Hamburg, which is happening in less than 3 weeks, I think it already is. I'm pretty determined to play Mario. I think the only thing that can happen is that Super Slam pushes them out of the meta entirely, which I don't think and I don't hope. But let's see. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It would mean a lot. And thanks for all the feedback, especially the last few videos received way more views than I anticipated. And also big thanks to the Runaways for the shout out in their latest podcast episode on my performance and at the calling in Copenhagen and the use of Dan Rutkowski's list. So in this video, we're playing against Prism. And Prism is a deck that I sometimes I'm very terrified to play against, right? Because there are some pretty crazy lines that Prism can take. But let's take a look at how this game went. So we actually do play the list from Dan Rutkowski that he posted on his Metafy. I can highly recommend checking out the Metafy guide. You get a lot of insights and really learn how to play this well. And I would say it's a different take than what the current dagger lists are offering. All right, Prism asked us to begin, and first good thing we have in this hand is that we do have a D-React. We definitely want to put that into Arsenal to ideally block out the first Herald that Prism is sending at us in their first turn. And the rest of the hand is, not super ideal, but there are some things we can do with it, right? I mean, Prism plays a lot of non-blocks, so there's actually a good option to get some damage through, right? And so I decide to start here with the Mark of the Black Widow because that opens up a couple of lines depending on how they block, right? Given that they have not blocked here yet, I actually only want to flick the Hunter's Clave here. It marks them, it deals them with damage, and also Mark of the Black Widow is live. I mean, banishing a card from the hand is not the best thing here, right? Because they definitely draw up. But at the end, it's 2 damage. It gives me go again. And now I can use the Take Up the Mantle resource to retrieve the dagger with Pick Up the Point. And they have 3 health less, which is nice. If they would have blocked this Mark of the Black Widow, like even before the flick, I could have just played Take Up the Mantle on the Mark of the Black Widow and then come up with a Pick Up the Point. Probably I wouldn't have flicked if that would have been the case. I'm actually a bit surprised that they banish that all you got here because they could have easily played this on this chain link. So not sure if they forgot about that or what's the texture of their hand. But this felt a little bit odd to me. So probably in this case, I've been a little bit lucky that they didn't use this. So now we play Pick Up the Point. We pitch the Take Up the Mantle to retrieve our dagger. We have 1 resource floating. We still have 1 card in hand. So yeah, maybe they respect this, maybe not. So here they don't block, but they actually have a second that all you got, which again is odd that they haven't played the first one on the first chain link. But I'm fine with this. They are down 3 life, and we can put the D-React in Arsenal. So this hand is kind of nice, right? I have a blue to pitch into Hunter's Clave. I have Persuasive Prognosis and Just a Nick, but they're also coming in with a 7 power Herald. So here I definitely give the Art of Desire Mind plus the D-React, which still allows me to play Persuasive Prognosis and Just a Nick in my turn and ideally Arsenal the Up Sticks and Run. Because especially playing as Mario, if you can disrupt Prism on an ongoing basis, like take a card each turn, that definitely weakens the opportunities and options that Prism has. That's also why I decide to let the Herald of Protection hit here. I mean, I could block out with Persuasive Prognosis and Just a Nick, but I would only Arsenal the Up Sticks and Run. And yeah, with a Prognosis, I can definitely weaken their hand. It's a little bit unfortunate that they chose the Erudition because that gives them a Ponder. So even if I banish a card from their hand, that means they have a 4-card hand next turn. And of course, I have to go through the Spectral Shield token here. But I think it's still fine. I'm 5 life ahead. They have not flipped an Angel yet. And so, yeah, playing for Disruption here is definitely something that makes them think and makes them block ideally. Okay, so give me a blue Wartune Herald, which is great because I can get over that with 6. So destroying the Spectral Shield token, dealing 2 damage, banishing 2 cards off of the top of their deck, plus ideally a card from hand. So we banish an Angelic Wrath, yellow, from the Justinic, and a Herald of Erudition, yellow. So I can choose between the Angelic Wrath and the Herald of Rebirth. They do have a blue Wartune Herald, and so I decide to take the yellow Herald here, because that means they can either only play the Wartune Herald in blue here, if they have a Herald in Arsenal, but it was off of a Ponder, right? So that's not given. They could still play it and have the Angelic Wrath there. But I think this was a fine decision, definitely, yeah, minimizing the options that Prism has in this scenario. Here, I'm again quite happy about the hand. I have a 3 block that I, well, can use, but don't necessarily need to use, which is the Justinic here, and the Sink below. So there are a couple of lines, right? I have a buff, a dagger buff in Arsenal. I have the Saber Bloodshed. I have a blue to pitch into the daggers. But I could also pivot away and say I block with a Saber Bloodshed and the Sink, and then do the same line of Persuasive Prognosis into Justinic. But here, given they come in with a Herald of Triumph, I definitely try to block 7 here. I know they have the buff, the Angelic Wrath, in Arsenal, I want to say, in hand. So I can also block with 2 cards here, right? Giving them the Saber Bloodshed and the Justinic, and then blocking with Sink would definitely allow me to, yeah, block out the Herald hitting me. And then I definitely know what they have in Arsenal. So here they play the Angelic Wrath. They didn't need to, so I'm surprised they do this here. I didn't put it in Arsenal. But so with the Sink, it's kind of telegraphed, but I can block 10 and, yeah, get them to 0 cards in hand and no Arsenal. So now I can either play the Persuasive Prognosis for 1, which I do here, because they need to give me a card one way or the other. Either from hand, they block it, or they use their Phantasmal Footsteps. They need to pitch for this, or they let it hit, and I ideally can banish a card from their hand. The other line would have been to pitch into the dagger by also using the front pump, but not needed here. I can bring them down to 3 cards, and again, limit their options that they have for the turn. Here, I flick the Hunter's Clave because I haven't seen an Orbweaver Spinneret yet, and I definitely want to have a Chelicera as soon as possible. So here, opening up the slot is definitely, an option. It also allows me to flip to become an agent, and that leaves me with some more options here. So again, they come in with a 7 attack Herald, and this time it's a little bit more awkward for me to block, right? So first of all, I don't really have a hand that plays well into the Arakni Black Widow. So giving the mask plus then a D-react, so one of the traps because I'm marked, and then maybe also the spider that I have in hand, that could definitely be an option. But at the same time, the rest of the hand doesn't convert well as well, right? I mean, yes, I could play the Command and Conquer, pitching the Shred, but then I have the Codex. I could, use my buff, come in for 5 with the Hunter's Clave, and then retrieve maybe even a dagger with a Tunic resource, and then play the Command and Conquer. That's also an option. So there are different lines here, but I definitely want to play the Command and Conquer in some shape and form. Using the Mask of Deceit here, which I kind of need to, plus then the Shred and, like I said, the Lair of the Spider, for example. It's, the Mask of Deceit doesn't give me too many options here. The probably best option here is to block with it, go into Orbweaver, also use the Lair of the Spider. There are countless options here. That's why also this is taking so long. But yeah, at the end, I use the Mask of Deceit and choose the Trapdoor, right? I get the Inertia Trap, play this so the War-Tune Herald is completely negated. Right, they still have go again, but they only have one resource floating, so there aren't that many heralds that they can play off of one resource. And yeah, if they don't get the herald into soul, they can't do any of the flip stuff. So this should ideally block out the whole turn. All right, they actually do have another herald here, so it's another War-Tune Herald, again, coming in for 7. And this time it's really weird and difficult for me to block. But yeah, that at least gives me another option for the Lair of the Spider here, or actually the Command and Conquer. Because I can't do much with the Command and Conquer if they don't have an arsenal. So this is the popper here. And here's the mistake, right? I could have used the Command and Conquer on the first chain link already, and they would have needed to use Phantasmal Footsteps, and I would have still my mask. I would still have my shred. So that would have given me a lot more options. I have no idea why I wasn't thinking about Command and Conquer being a popper. I was too focused on how I could weave this into any play line. So this was definitely a big misstep on my end. But I mean, that happens. Sometimes you don't see the obvious. And so here I actually go about and try to retrieve a dagger. So going back, taking the Tunic resource, playing the Upstakes and run again, using the Tunic resource to retrieve a dagger, which gives me another option to flick, right? So ideally, yes, I would love to have a Chelicera here, but I mean, it's not going to be too far away for them to actually flip into one of the angels. And then having 2 daggers equipped is so essential to threaten the ward, right? To threaten the ward, be hit with the flicked Clave or Chelicera there. So here, coming in for 5, not sure why they think so long about blocking this. This should probably be immediately a no block from Prism. All right, so no block from Prism makes sense. They can play with a 4-card hand and probably, throw a Herald and then get into an Angel. But interestingly, they play the Soul Shield here. That would have been a very nice arsenal target, I would have assumed. But here they deny the dagger on hit. I turn back into Mario, can put the D-React into arsenal. And here they come with a Herald of Ravages. Obviously has go again. And so my hand is actually quite nice, right? I do have an Orb with a Spinneret, I have the Saber Bloodshed, I have a Kiss of Death. I also have a blue to pitch into Hunter's Clave and then ultimately into the Chelicera. But I could also just block this out, right? Give them Art of Desire Mind, give them Tunic, and then use the D-React that I have in my arsenal that would deny them one of the angels. And so that's also usually my game plan, to deny the angels as long as possible to ideally create a huge life difference already. And I mean, giving 2 cards here, arsenal plus hand card, and the Tunic, I mean, it's a lot of value, especially the Tunic. I could probably get another resource out of it, maybe even 2, depending on how long the game goes. But yeah, just denying them here the option to get a Figment, I think it's worth it. And now my hand is actually quite potent, right? I'll probably play the Saber Bloodshed, Kiss of Death, and then flick the Clave, put the Orb with a Spinneret into arsenal to create a Chelicera on the next turn. Playing the Chelicera, the Orb with a Spinneret before would, well, yes, +3 on the Kiss of Death, but it wouldn't equip me Chelicera. So I think this is fine. They are at 8, or the Kiss of Death is at 8 already because of the mark. So flicking the Hunter's Clave here doesn't do much. It doesn't give +1 power because it already has that, but it opens up the slot for the Chelicera on the next turn. And it still draws me a card, right? So if this is a blue, I could still play this, right? Play the Orb with a Spinneret and then come in with a Chelicera for another 4 damage. I could also think about just sending the Hunter's Clave, pitching the Reaper's Call into the Hunter's Clave to remark Prism, still put the Orb with a Spinneret into arsenal, both is probably fine here. So yeah, I opt to actually do the second line I said, so pitching into the Hunter's Clave, denying them the information that I'm going to have a Chelicera next turn, and also to move 3 damage into the next turn, where I might need the +3 for one of the stealth attacks even. So here playing the, I actually did then play the Chelicera because, yeah, I had a resource floating. I was able to mark Prism here, and so Chelicera came in for another damage. So instead of coming in for 1 with the Hunter's Clave, I actually came in for 5. So still, Prism now comes in with a 4-card hand, but they are down to 10 life. We have an interesting hand because I don't have the best arsenal targets for Codex right here. I don't have a Leave No Witnesses. I do have a Command and Conquer, but I don't really have the option to pitch into this, no Tunic anymore, and only yellows here. So this turnaround, I probably will not be able to deny them the Angel. Yeah, so here I actually do not block the first Herald because I kind of want to get value out of the Torrential Toxin. I mean, the opponent is at 10 life only, so somehow pitching into the Chelicera and using the Tarantula Toxin on it creates a lot of value. It doesn't have go again, right? Because the opponent is not marked, and I need to be careful with flicking Hunter's Clave. Now that a Spectral Shield is on the board, flicking Hunter's Clave is definitely not an option at all. And so here, now they come in with Herald of Sechem. And one of the blues I don't necessarily need, right? My turn is probably pitch a yellow, yellows, not blues. Pitch a yellow into the Chelicera, play Tarantula Toxin on it. That's probably my play, so I can definitely give 3 block here. That's also why I take this back, say sorry, and now getting the Herald of Sechem again. But this time around, block with the Take Up the Mantle. I prefer here keeping the Shred because it could come in useful if this would go much longer as a game. I often tend to see that Shred then is a bit more potent than the Take Up the Mantle. Okay, so here are now actually a few options. So I could play the Chelicera and then play the Tarantula Toxin on it. That would be 4. They probably won't block, right? So it's actually the same value if I play the Hunter's Clave and then the Tarantula Toxin, with the upside that this gets them marked. And if they're marked, then I could come in with a Codex and use something like Persuasive Prognosis or Kiss of Death to push more damage. Or maybe even some disruption. All right, we go into their turn. And as I said, Hunter's Clave here is the way to go. It's the one that has go again. It is the same damage that I deal with it if I play the Toxin now on it. It allows me to play the Codex and the opponent is marked. So because they don't have equipment block, I have the option to actually disrupt them and get at least 1 card of them blocking with selecting Persuasive Prognosis here. Kiss of Death would obviously be more damage. It would be 4 plus then the 1. So it could bring them down to 2 if they don't block it. And that would bring them close to Flick Knife's range, of course. But then they would have a 4-card hand. And Prisms with 4 cards are always scarier than Prisms with 3 cards. And here also, of course, they need to discard a card and get one from the graveyard. They chose the War-Tune Herald here. And so now they actually let the Persuasive Prognosis hit, which I like because it also gives me some life ideally. We end up banishing a Herald of Protection from top. And that's good for them because unfortunately they didn't have a red in their hand. So yeah, probably the other line with Kiss of Death would have been better here, but that's also the variance of the game. But now no, they have a Herald of Erudition, a Figment of Ravages, and a blue Herald of Triumph, and the Wartune Herald in Arsenal. So there's a lot of damage that can actually come through, and probably I should try to not get hit by the Herald of Erudition if they choose to play this as their first card. I mean, it would probably get through one way or the other, right? Only option would be if I have a D-React and then give them Flick Knives. That's the only way I could block this. They actually opt to play the Wartune Herald first, which comes in for 6 because of the frailty, and I drew my popper. So I actually use it here. They would need to pay 1 resource with the Phantasmal Footsteps. They could still play the Herald of Erudition though and draw 2 cards, but they would not have go again on that attack. And so it would be basically at least 1 dead card, as they can put 1 into Arsenal. So they end up electing the Herald of Triumph. Maybe one of the better Prism players can explain to me if this play made sense here, or if the Herald of Erudition would have been the better option in this scenario. But here I let it hit. I let them grab a Figment and also transform one of their Figments into the Angel. Because my hand is nice. I have a Leave No Witnesses in Arsenal. I have a Kiss of Death. I have an Orb-Weaver Spinner to power the Kiss of Death. I still have my Snapdragon Scalers live, so I don't even need to hit them with a Hunter's Clave. But especially if they now flip into an Angel, having the blue Persuasive Prognosis is actually really good because I can pitch it into the Hunter's Clave that would eventually already destroy their Angel if they, or I could then flick the Chelicera before the Hunter's Clave hits the Angel. That would pop the Angel. Hunter's Clave would still hit Prism, which would be an easier option than for me for go again because of the potential hit. But also the Kiss of Death would come in for 1 more. And because I have the Orb with a Spinneret in hand, I can flick the Chelicera easy peasy, as I can equip a new one immediately. But this obviously only works if they don't block the Hunter's Clave. Well, they do block the Hunter's Clave here, but still I have my Snapdragon Scalers line, so this doesn't hurt me much. I can still pop their Angel with a Chelicera flick. Now I play the Orb with a Spinneret, Kiss of Death coming in for 6, threatening another life loss. So they definitely need to give me 1 card here. That would bring them down to 1. I mean, they don't need to fear Flick Knives here in this moment because I already used it. But yeah, going down to 1 life is pretty scary against an opponent with Flick Knives. So here I come in with Leave No Witnesses for 4, which means they need to give me both cards in their hand. If it's no blocks, then this is game, and we are still at 20 life, which is nice. So given they pass here, it seems that there are 2 no blocks in their hand, which it is Angelic Wrath and an Arclight Sentinel. So yeah, pretty good game. I definitely did the 1 big mistake with the Popper that I should have played earlier. Not 100% sure how clean my Prism opponent played here. So maybe if you are good at Prism, maybe you can explain this to me if there were some lines that also the Prism could have played better. But yeah, I felt quite good in this game. And yeah, thanks again for watching this. Please subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you when the next video drops. Take care. Bye-bye.